Hello traders, thanks for locking into this mid-month update. Got some really exciting stuff for you packed into this short video. Stuff you're not going to see it anywhere else on social media. Let's be honest, there's no one else out there talking any sense. Sadly, they're just saying whatever they think you want to hear. I'm going to give it to you straight, tell you stuff that probably doesn't make sense to you, but that's why I produce the stats I do, because I don't do what everyone else does. And I want to show people that you've got to think differently to make it in this business, and that's backed up by real stats. So we're going to go through obviously my month to date statistics. I've got a couple of exciting things also I want to tell you about. I've got a free Discord channel. Drop me an email, nv@g7fx.com, if you want to be involved. Completely free, all right? No downside. So I'm just going to show you that very briefly. Also, just want to make it clear, because I get a lot of people asking me, oh, do you only do Forex? No, I trade the pound, as you guys know, but I'm heavily involved in two US markets. So that's the S&P 500 and crude oil. I trade both those markets heavily every day. New York, love those markets, brilliant markets to trade. I'm heavily involved in those. So just going to have a very preliminary look at the S&P 500 using some profile analysis that I use heavily, market profile. Also look at some other stuff, volume profile, VWAP, but obviously I want to keep this video short and just get started introducing some of that. So we're going to look at market profile. We're also just going to have a very brief sterling analysis, as I always do. And this time I'm going to show you, while looking at too many pairs, assets, whatever you want to call it, it's disastrous. You've lost before you started. So, stay locked on. Let's now have a quick look at the stats, literally a couple of minutes, and then we'll get into some proper analysis. Okay, so I just want to spend a couple of minutes, as I said, going through the stats so that, look, at the end of the day, this should be compulsory, right? Let's admit, anyone who wants to talk about something as serious as financial markets, because it involves people's money, at minimum they should be able to show that they know what they're talking about. So look, that's why I spend literally a couple of minutes. All right, it won't take up much of your time. We're going to get onto the analysis, but it's important that that I actually know what I'm talking about. I do this for a living. So I've got my stats here, and I actually like to split them out month to month so I can actually keep an eye on the drawdown. I'm going to talk about drawdown later, but it's something that's just never talked about. And in fact, drawdown's more important than returns. But so you can see here, I've got the last few months fairly consistent, very low drawdown, very important. This month in particular, which I'm just going to click into now, in terms of drawdown, 0.24%. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, realistically, that is on the low side of what you can expect. Obviously, it's been a particularly good month this month, and ironically, I've just been so busy doing other things. I've only managed to trade 5 days this month, and it's been the best stats of the year. It just goes to show that sometimes, you know, everything in trading that you think is true, it's the opposite. All right, so I haven't actually traded that much. But the point is, I've got over 1,000 trades on show, and over that period, the drawdown's low. Like I said, this month has been exceptional with less than 1% drawdown and over 26%. I mean, I'd challenge anyone to find better statistics than that anywhere, let alone any statistics at all. So, and I don't say that in an arrogant way. I've said it all the time. I'm open to 100,000 people showing statistics, because at the end of the day, maybe I can learn something. There's always new stuff you can be learning, even after doing this for 16 years. It just doesn't seem to exist, and I think it's fair that it should be there as a minimum. If people want to spout information at you, that they show that they actually sort of do it themselves, and sadly that doesn't seem to be the case. Anyway, so those are the stats. I'll do a proper video at month end and go into things like drawdown, etc., etc. But for now, I just thought, look, let me put them up here so you can see how the month's going. Almost 700 pips, like I said, with the low drawdown. It's been an exceptional month. I mean, the average loss, it's 0.09 pips. Okay, I mean, let's be honest, it's not going to be like that all year. It's just, you know, the cookies kind of crumbled nicely for me this month. I haven't overdone it. It's been good. So let's kind of leave it at that until kind of a month end update. What I did want to show you though is this one particular trade that I took, and it really highlights my point because I want to do some analysis with you guys. So if you can see here, I bought some pounds on the 15th this month at 121.89, and I've actually marked it here. You can see it 121.89. Okay, and the point is this, right? You can see I don't use indicators. As far as I'm concerned, they're all garbage. People tell you that stuff because they want you to believe that you don't have to do anything. You don't have to think for yourself. Let that thing do all the work for you. But you've got to like actually sit and stop and think for a minute. You know, anyone can draw up two dots, right? Or drag an indicator onto here and some moving average, whatever it is. Let's be honest, it's complete and utter nonsense. I mean, the financial market is an incredibly complex place, and you know, people, I can tell you, I've been on the inside for over a decade, and I've never met anyone throwing big money at this who looks at any of that stuff. No, they're thinking logically. Anyone's perfectly capable of doing it. All that stuff, all it's doing is, you know, if your end goal is here in terms of consistency, all that stuff is doing is it's taking you that way. You need to realize that very quickly. That's why I've got the stats I do, as I said, because I don't look at any of that stuff. Which brings me to my next point in terms of the actual analysis. So, what's the point of this, me showing you all of this? Well, you know, I've said that in this particular video, I want to talk to you about people looking at too many markets. And it ties in with the problem of us using too many crutches. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I had some higher time frame levels, and in past videos I've showed you that, and in future videos of course we'll go into that, but it kind of distracts from what I want to show you. So you know, you're just gonna have to take my word for it that I kind of used some logic, and I had, you know, just very basic analysis that told me that the market was in this region. And you know, in the Discord chat I said to a lot of the guys, fine, I expect us to get down to sort of this sort of region. But this is the thing. If I watch 10 markets, right, I would not have this feeling for the pound that anyone can develop, by the way. It's because I'm watching the same thing every single day. Literally, right, we came into the new day, and I just looked at yesterday and I thought to myself, hang on, what's the range been yesterday? Just yesterday, right? It's not been more than about 50 pips. Now, I know the average range for the pound tends to be 80 to 100 pips. Why? Because I watch it every day. If I'm watching gold, if I'm watching Aussie, if I'm watching Euro Aussie, if I'm watching Pound Aussie, if I'm watching, you know, all these other pairs, it's disastrous. I mean, really, I'm not going to have a clue what is actually happening in the pound because I'm not developing that understanding. I don't want to be sitting here all day long watching 20 different pairs, trying to understand them all. It's impossible, right? You've tried it yourself. It's impossible trying to do, you know, 10 things at once. It's logical. Don't do it. Please just stop. Watch one or two markets, learn them inside out, get rid of the indicators, and believe me, you'll start to develop an understanding for them. And my point was, as soon as I saw, all right, it's 50, and normally, you know, it's 80 to 100, I knew straight away, okay, something's not right. It's very unlikely we're going to get down into the region I want it to. Why? Because I need to make an adjustment for the fact that, you know, 50 out of 80 to 100, anyone can do the maths. It's about 50%, right? It's really basic stuff. And I thought to myself, you know what? Therefore, it's unlikely we're going to make it all the way down. Let me just get into the trade slightly early. I know this market. Worst comes to worst, if it does go to the area I want it to, rather than putting my full position size on, which is what everyone tells you to do, that's because they don't know what they're talking about. I put on, you know, less than I normally would. So, you know, normally I take on quite a few positions and I build up a basket. Here you'll see it. You know, you're welcome to look at these stats. You'll see on this particular day, I took less risk because I thought, do you know what? Rather than just missing the move completely, I understand the probability is now severely increased that we're not going to get down here. Why don't I put on a quarter or a half of my size? Worst comes to worst, I can put the other half on if we do get down. And therefore, I'm not taking any more risk. I'm spreading it out. And therefore, I can actually participate in the day. Guys, the point is, this all comes from watching the pound, all right? I don't watch anything else. I know this market intimately. You've got to start doing that. That's my advice to you in this video, is have a serious think about analysis paralysis. Am I watching too many things? I hope that was useful. Like I said, you're not going to hear this anywhere else, backed up by real statistics. I now want to very briefly go and show you some market profile analysis that I look at on US markets. Okay, so people ask me about other markets that I trade, and actually this is the S&P 500, which as many of you know is obviously one of the most well-known stock indices in the world, and it's got the most liquid futures contract in the world. I trade the S&P 500, I trade crude oil, I trade them heavily. In fact, more than FX, I'm trading these markets. They're absolutely brilliant markets because there's so much transparent volume, which you don't see in FX. I use market profile, which is what this is. I don't want to get too heavy right now. It's the first time I've obviously talked about it in videos. But what I can say is, I'm heavily looking at this stuff, you can see there's no price on here. So forget indicators. I'm getting rid of price. I'm going to the other extreme of anything you're used to seeing. Again, that's why I produce stats, less than 1% drawdown. Realistically, that is at the low end of the spectrum, I'll be honest. But you can see over the months, 5, 6, 7% is very normal, like drawdown, very low drawdown. And it's similar in these markets, what I'm doing. And that's because I'm not blinded by things that get in the way, even price to some extent. It's just a bit of sort of black ink on your chart going up and down. You need to kind of get beyond that mess and be able to look. And things like market profile, use volume profile, use VWAP. Honestly, they're beautiful. Really the most, and you might say that's a bit of an extreme word to use. No, they really are, to me, the definition of beauty. I mean, they will really show you where balance is. Here you can see we went sort of imbalanced, where the market is really going into an expansionary phase, which fails. Is it any surprise that we came back in and then we just start going into the same balance that we were in before? Okay, this is the type of analysis I'm even doing in FX, as you see, although in FX I do more mean reversion, whereas here I'm looking at expansionary stuff. And look, anyone can do this. Obviously you've got to start somewhere. At first, of course, it's a little bit difficult, but I find that it really empowers you to make decisions for yourself. You're no longer relying on something to tell you what to do. And stuff like profile, it's used by companies throughout the world. Maybe not in this exact format, but look, Amazon, Walmart, Tesco, all the big companies, what do you think they're doing? Whenever something goes through the till or someone transacts at a certain price, they're recording it. And as they record it, what do you think happens? It just builds a profile, right? And then they analyze it. It's no different. You've got to stop thinking of financial markets as this sort of ethereal, special thing beyond your reach. It isn't. You just got to treat it like any other market in the world. So, I wanted to obviously get into, just very briefly, show you the other side of things that I do heavily involved in the US markets, S&P 500, crude oil, FX in the morning. That's it though. I keep it simple. S&P, crude, and the pound. Okay. And if something's too volatile, I'll drop it for a few weeks. I won't look at it. Like crude, as you know, it's been very volatile recently. Drop it. Come back to it when things calm down. Obviously, that's knowing your market. I'm able to do that. Why? Because I look at 3 markets. That's it. I do not touch any other markets. Anyone asks me about other markets, I tell them, I'm honest with you, I haven't got a clue. I don't open any other markets. I don't look at any other markets. I know these 3 markets maximum. And when I was in institutional circles, the best traders in the world, they were really looking at 2 to 3 markets tops. So look, hopefully that's giving you an insight into what I'm doing away from FX. I'll quickly show you the Discord room very briefly for 1 minute, and then we'll end the video and be back at month end. Okay, so just a quick minute showing you my Discord room. You know, it's got a ton of people in here, great guys. Happy for you to come and have a look, see what happens, see how an institutional pro actually does things. So, you know, that you'll see my Forex prep for the morning that I do at London time, and then futures prep. So you can see here my hypos in terms of what I believe may happen throughout the day in terms of market profile, volume profile, all of that is in here. So really covering, you know, like I said, the UK session in with FX, and then the afternoon session looking more at the S&P 500 and crude oil. But look, I've got to say at this stage, this is not for you to take signals from, okay? You need to stop all of that. There's no point taking signals from people. You're not learning anything. They probably don't know what they're talking about anyway. Let's be honest. Ask yourself frankly, any guy you've taken signals from, have they actually shown you any verified evidence of trading? No. Question over, basically. Close that avenue. It doesn't work, okay? The best thing, if you don't mind me saying, with all due respect, is you need to learn to do it for yourself. Don't rely on anyone else. This room is not there for signals, okay? It's for education and, you know, for like-minded people who are looking at proper things, not squiggly lines on their chart. That, let's be frank, it doesn't mean anything. Proper things that drive the market, and people who obviously want to start treating it as a business, which I know all of you do. That's why I'm inviting you for free to come and check it out. So look, really enjoyed putting the video together. Obviously very tough times we're going through at the moment. Look after yourself for the next couple of weeks. You know, hope you have a great rest of the month, and I'll see you in the next video.